Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome to Homeschooling Hub and the second in a series on using play to improve writing. I'm so excited to bring you tonight Legos. I'm Jill Wolf, learning specialist, and I help homeschool parents plan meaningful experiences to awaken the learn in learning. And my goal is to help you this evening consider how can I use play, specifically Legos, to improve my child's writing. So first I just have to tell you something funny that just happened. I was getting ready to do my live and I'm in the bathroom, doing my hair and stuff. And my youngest is in there playing behind me. And I turn around and I say, look, stop drinking the toilet water. And, that is just something I never thought I would ever say. Before you have kids, there's all sorts of things that just never cross your mind that you're going to say or do, or challenges that you're going to be up against. And then all of a sudden you've got your 2-year-old who's drinking out of the toilet. It's such a joy. Anyway, I thought y'all could relate because I am positive every child has done this and every mom has caught them. So with that in mind, I want to say this. Homeschooling, yay! I'm so proud of all you homeschoolers out there. This is a tough, tough road. And I would imagine that all of you, before you moved into homeschooling, also thought there's lots of things that you wouldn't say. And I imagine some are along the lines of, just do the work, because I said so. We just have to. We got to check this off. And maybe some of you are really looking for ways to make your lessons more meaningful, more enjoyable, your kids more engaged, and more learning to go on. So that's what I'm about, and that's why I'm here. So tonight we're going to take a look at Legos and how we can use Legos to improve writing. Okay, so I took a look today at a couple of the Lego websites, and it struck me that there was kind of 3 categories of Lego play. One is where you buy a kit and you follow the directions and you build something. And that has its own reward of getting it built, its own frustrations when the directions aren't as clear, or I put these things together and they don't stay, or this doesn't seem to be going together as smoothly as I'd like. And it also has its own ways that we can bring out writing because of the nature of the kind of play. The second one is just free design. And that's where it may be that your child, after he or she has done all these different Lego kits or this or that, has taken them apart, now has just buckets of Legos and going to build. And that free design is very creative. Your child just says, I'm going to do a building, and I'm going to build this structure, or I'm going to build a little town, or it's a different kind of car. And that kind of free design is not have any parameters except what Legos can I have and what they can actually do when I put them together. And then there is design for a challenge. And I want to tell you, there's a group out called First Inspires. Firstinspires.org is the website. So if your son or daughter loves Legos and loves building and designing for a challenge, this looks like a very interesting organization. I found a bunch of its challenges from the last 10 to 15 years, which I'm going to be drawing from tonight. And the websites I will put in the body of this when I am done, so that you have that as a link. But all 3 of these kinds have a different nature to their play, and therefore different kinds of writing. Before I get up to my big board and start brainstorming, I do want to address boy-girl here, because I think this is interesting. Growing up, I never got Legos. I didn't have them. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've been around. I thought they'd been around since the 70s. That's when I was little. And so they would have been something I could have played with. I grew up in a house of all girls. And so I'm wondering if it just never occurred to my parents or to friends and family when they bought us gifts and toys to ever buy girls' Legos. I think that at that time it may have just been really geared towards little boys. But that's not something I ever got to play with. And I find them fascinating now. I look forward to building things with my son with these. And my husband just loved Legos growing up. He can't say enough about his great experiences with Legos. So I think that I'm hoping, at least some of the pictures I'm seeing from Lego, they're really trying to draw in more girls. The nature of Legos is very different than American Girl. Last week I did American Girl. We brainstormed writing out of American Girl. A lot of interplay of people, storytelling, writing in a journal, letters to other dolls, dialogue between dolls, very personal, relational, emotional interaction. Like, that's kind of the nature of playing with American Girl and dolls. Lego's quite a bit different. It's, in fact, it's not really relational at all. So the kind of writing that we're going to do out of Legos is going to be different than what you can draw out of an American Girl play experience. And I think little girls can benefit from both. I mean, boys can too, but because we're doing Legos tonight, I just wanted to address the girl thing. And I think that what we have to consider is what would girls like to build? Would girls prefer the building to a set of instructions? Would girls prefer free design? Would girls prefer design for a challenge? And I don't know that it's girls in general to any one of those three. It may just be your daughter and considering that. But just because you have girls, I wouldn't throw Legos out as a toy that she may not find some value in. So the basis of Lego play is a lot around design. And I can't speak enough about the career fields in design now, and they're only going to escalate over the next 10 to 20 years and even further. So when your child is entering in the world, design is a huge area for careers, jobs, businesses, innovation, startups, all sorts of things. So Legos give kind of, in a play way, your child a chance to experiment with the idea of design. And design can be free design, and it's very artistic and creative, again, without any parameters, or design for a challenge. So let's go ahead and go to the board and start brainstorming something. Okay, so we have Legos, okay? And I'm going to start with Lego Play 1, I call it, which is where you build from instruction. And some kids like to strictly do this kind of build. A couple of my nephews actually are some examples. And so they just ask for new kits for Christmas, for their birthdays, for whatever. And they build, and so they have them displayed, all of these things that they have built. They like Lego play. Play 1, build from instructions. So what's some of the writing that we could do from this kind of play? First of all, they're following a set of instructions, which is procedural text. And as you and I know, not all procedures are very clear. Just buy a piece of furniture from IKEA, and you'll know what I mean. So as they're going through their instructions and building, some of the instructions may not be clear. So you would set up in advance, hey, you know what, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna do this, and I want you to have a pencil or a pen, and right next to the instructions, every time you do steps, and any of them seem really unclear, I want you to rewrite it. What would you write in the instructions there to move from here to here? They told you this, what would you write if you were rewriting things? Okay, so it's just instructions. I'm going to put revision of instructions. And there are entire people whose job is to write the instructions for all sorts of things. The instructions for how to build furniture, build Legos, how to assemble a piece of technology, how to take it apart, how to you know, you buy a new hard drive. How do you sync it up with your computer? I mean, these are all instructions. It's procedural text, and there's a lot of value to understanding how to write these clearly. So they could revise those. Or maybe I noticed there is a lot of Star Wars. Now, I'm a total Star Wars fan. And so I love everything Star Wars. And so when it comes to building some of these, I'm probably going to get the Star Wars ones. So maybe they don't like Star Wars. Maybe there's another theme. But let's say, for sake here, Star Wars. And so what you do is they're building the Star Wars piece, and then you can play out stories, and you can write them. Okay? Totally different kind of writing. So I have my Star Wars characters, or invent your own Star Wars characters, and the Star Wars Death Star or Millennium Falcon or whatever it is that they've built. And they have them, you know, they're playing out something with what they've built. Have them write a story for it, following story structure, and even having characters that have some dialogue in there. But you can write stories from this. You can even do character or ship descriptions. Like, here's the Millennium Falcon. Well, what are all the pieces of it? So almost like a cross section, and you label and describe it. So you can do descriptions out of Star Wars. So some of it is about what they've built then and how they play with it. And some is working with the instructions and how they built it. They could do a comparison. I always try to throw some kind of comparative writing on the page because I think it's higher level thinking, and for them to start comparing things at a young age, I think is important. So they could compare a couple of things. They could compare the building experience. From what I've seen, all of the sets of instructions and building sets are at levels. So I built a level 3, and then I built a level 4, and compare what that building experience was like. How was it very similar? And what was really different? What made 4 harder? So a little bit of comparison there. The building experience, it could be the parts. Compare the parts. Is it when you built A and you built B, what were the parts difference? And why were they different? Well, is what you were building that different? Then the parts would be different. But compare the parts for each thing you built. Okay, so there's a few around Lego Play 1. Lego Play 2 is free design. And don't feel like you have to write this. I will take a picture and post it for you. Okay, Lego Play 2, free design. So this is where he or she is just building something from random Legos that they have there. And it could be any kind of structure. It could be a machine, a robot, okay? So part of this then could be, as they're building this, they write why they built what they built. So almost like a reflection of why build that? Like, why did you decide to build that? It could be to describe the function or purpose, or special design. So, you know, why did you build that building circular over the top? Well, I just, you know, so they would write that. So they would think about it, and then they would write a response to that coming out of their free design. So they've designed something, and now you're going to have them write about describing it, the function, purpose, or design. You could do a design document. These are huge in the world of design. And a design document can be as simple as directions on how to build it, or a drawing of it with labeled features and directions how to build it. It can be the purpose of the special things that you have on it. So a design document can actually encompass a whole lot of these things. And if they're going to be designing anything in the future, this is part of what they have to do. It's getting at, why did you design it this way? And if I want to build something just like you, how do I do it? Okay, that's a design document. All right, I'm going to jump into the third one because I think that's where we have a lot of opportunity. And Lego Play 3 is designed to a challenge. Okay, now this one, whether you're doing this in a contest or participating with a group, or whether you're just doing this at home, it's designing a solution to some kind of problem. And this is more the kind of design that's going on in careers today. It's the ones that we need, the designers of our future designers need to be this. We design for a specific kind of challenge. So this, while it is a design document, now it's showing how it addresses a problem. So first, I have to identify a problem. So there almost could be a project slash report that you write from this that documents a whole bunch of things. It documents the problem you're trying to solve, the solutions that you propose. You may have built with the Legos a prototype. Did you test the prototype? Or is it just your proposed solution that you've built? But you need to explain then how does this solution solve the problem? Now, this sounds very general, so let me give you some specific examples. Like I said, I went on that Lego site, and here's some of the things I found. They got a whole bunch of them. So one is called the food factor. And they talk about, have you ever thought about how your food stays healthy or food stays fresh? Have you ever thought about who invented the things that help your food stay fresh? Protecting from bacteria, protecting from rotting. How does it say stay safe to eat? And so they have some challenges or some ideas around looking at what kind of problems do you have around keeping your food fresh and safe to eat? So this could be something that you brainstorm together even around your house. So if you live, I live up, for those of you who are local, I live up the Ortega. And so it, for me, is at least a half an hour, if not 45 minutes, to any grocery store, pending traffic. And so I have to get food home safely. Now, if I go straight there and straight back, but what if I'm running other errands or doing anything else? Some of the things I have to consider is, how do I keep my cold food cold? Because I don't want things getting warm. I don't want things thawing out. So I've had to come up with a solution for me. Now, that's a pretty simple problem. These are asking you to address something more complex, and they're asking you to consider how to build something with Legos as your like pieces to build a prototype of your solution. Okay, there's another one about animals, relationships between animals and humans, and some of the problems that animals might have. So if your child loves animals, then you might. So some of this at the beginning is going to take a more project perspective, and you may have some conversations about the topic and the problem. Then they launch into and they use their Legos and they play with this. So it's less free play and it's a little more directed play, but they get to use their Legos to do it. And when you're building a possible solution with Legos, a lot of things aren't going to work. So let's say I'm trying to build something and I need to use a little motor, and there's a piece that has kind of a little motor to it, and I put it in. It may not move things the way I want to. Maybe it moves them side to side. I need to move them up and down. And so there's a lot of revision that goes on to what you build. There's a lot of playing around with. See, you don't have instructions. And it's not just totally free design of whatever comes out. I'm designing, and it's purposeful, and it has to be able to do something that I want it to be able to do. So it's it's a fun and a different way to play with Legos. But I do think there's some, let's see, what's this one? Oh, dealing with trash and some of the issues with trash, cleanup and sorting, and what were some of the other ones? Oh, and it could be something as simple as something going to address trash in your own home, or maybe it's trash at the beach, or maybe it's trash at a restaurant or a mall, so out in a public place. But you're dealing with a specific problem, and you're trying to build something using your Legos that's going to be a solution to the problem. Some kids like this challenge. Some don't. Some want just the free, I just want to design what I feel like designing. And in fact, let me add one more thing up here. Design, if they build something kind of elaborate, maybe they write a map. And I know you're thinking, but is a map writing? So let me pause here for a second and say this. Writing itself is a means for me to communicate what I understand to you. Whether it's my ideas, my opinions, whether it's something I've discovered, something I want to tell you about or persuade you to do, a story I want to tell. It's me communicating to you. So something like a map may be a better way for me to communicate to you the information about this design of this town than writing it in paragraphs. And that's okay. Part of literacy as a whole is learning when is what we call a text feature, like a map or a chart or a graph, actually a better way to communicate what I know to you than writing it in paragraphs. So and all of these are important pieces of being able to write. So depending on your goals, if you are wanting your child to write more paragraphs, then maybe you have them, maybe they start with a map and then they describe all of the pieces of the map. So what, is this a town? Okay, so describe to me what all these buildings are that you have. So you can draw a map and then you can write your paragraphs out, or maybe they're just at sentences, so a sentence or two about each of these things that you built. You can certainly incorporate sentences and paragraphs and words into or in addition to something like a map or a chart or something that you're using. But let me come back to this one. So you have a project or report you're writing. You may also want to write, a lot of times out of design, I'm trying to find my pen, a lot of times out of design to a challenge comes a potential business opportunity. So maybe you want them to write a business proposal, especially if they're a little older, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, but a business proposal is going to look different than a report, a project report, because you have a different audience and a different goal for that piece you're writing. So in a business proposal, I want this guy who's got money to believe that the solution that I've built here is valuable enough to invest in building it in real life. Ooh, that's a different kind of writing, right? It's a little more persuasive, but it has to have some facts. It still has to explain how this solution solves the problem, but why this solution, why this prototype is so valuable and could be the answer in a business proposal is something different. You could, and I don't want to get into math, so we'll do math later, but design to a challenge has a lot of math potential as I'm figuring out how many of these do I have, and if these are bricks, if these are pieces of metal, if these are 2x4s, then what's this prototype that I've built out of Legos really going to cost to make? So if you want, you know, depending on the age and how elaborate you want to go here, your business proposal could even begin to include some math in it. Let me look at my notes here. Oh, let me add to this one. I see I forgot to add procedures on how to build this thing. So let me just turn this a little bit. I feel like I'm, oh, there we go. Sorry, you see my corner of my wall there, but this thing they've designed, if someone wants to replicate it, then what are the procedures to do so? So it'd be procedural text that they're writing with the step-by-step procedure, which is essentially instructions, right? So over here, they're using instructions to build something. Over here, they've designed something, built something, now they're gonna write the instructions. So it's kind of just backwards depending on how they like to play. And this one's involving a challenge and involving some research, maybe involving another interest, if they like the beach or they like animals or they're, you know, maybe they love to sort your trash. My little guy loves to carry his little bags of dirty diapers out to the garbage. It's not okay that they sit right outside the front door. They have to be all the way down in the garbage can. So he derives great pleasure in making sure that garbage is taken all the way out. And I wonder someday he's going to be involved in renovating and reinventing the trash industry, because there's a lot of problems with it. So, you know, I know it's random, but depending on what your child's interests are, you can even tie those into this Lego Play 3, which is around challenge. The website, when I give it to you, all these old challenges, they're just for ideas. All the parameters they have set, hold those loosely. You can change anything you want. You can make it more difficult, less difficult. They even have some robotics pieces in there, built with Legos and the little motors, so that you have essentially a robot that's doing something. And quite honestly, a lot of the solutions coming up to challenges are robotics, because we're looking at how do we automate some of these problems that we're having with our solution is some kind of automation. So these can really just be places for you to jump off for a much bigger project involving Legos, okay? Let's see. Okay. I'm going to stop here for now because I see I'm getting kind of long-winded and I don't want to go on forever. But the kind of writing that you do around Legos looks to be more what we would call expository or informational. What we did with American Girl was a lot of narrative, storytelling, and personal interactions, whereas this is more informational. It's a little less emotional. It's problem solving. It's instructional with the instructions, either instructions or revision of them. We did have some narrative here with using what we build in some kind of play and then telling a story about it. You can involve that here too, especially if they build, you know, whatever they built, tell me a story about that. You know, what's happening inside of there, or why do the people need that and where are they going with that? So you can incorporate story in here. You won't have much story down here. This has, it feels a little more scientific in the way that you write out of a design to a challenge. But you're also doing some research, some background, like what are different solutions that have been proposed. So it's reporting. It might be reporting data and explaining why something worked or how you made a change. So it's more, definitely more of the informational reporting kind of writing. So again, oh, hi, Karen. I don't know if you're seeing the end of it or if you're starting at the beginning, but I'm glad you're here. So anyway, these are the 3 types of Lego play. And I think that there's probably lots more writing ideas that can come out of here. And so I encourage you, as you come up with yours, if you find links, please share them here. Share them with me, because I'm collecting this and want to keep adding to my own resources for people around Legos and play. And I'm just excited to be a part of helping you find ways to use play to improve your writing. So have a wonderful evening, and if you have questions, feel free to write them in and share them, and I will get back to you and I'll respond. And this will be available in replay, available to replay in the group, Facebook group, as soon as I figure out how to do that. Anyway, glad you joined me this evening, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about how you use Legos to improve writing. Okay, see ya.